dark silence of space, survival is a privilege few can afford. Among the stars, one species has perfected the art of killing, evolving through terror, adaptation, and relentless efficiency. The Xenomorph. Long before the earliest human civilizations began chiseling stories into stone, the universe already trembled under the shadow of this perfect organism. The Xenomorph's beginning was not in one single act of creation, but through countless cycles of brutal natural selection across 1,000 dead worlds. Wherever life bloomed, the Xenomorph arrived, either by accident or by design, to test and devour it. On the remote moon designated LV-426, remnants of a once thriving engineer civilization told a silent tale of how they had tampered with forces they could not control. The engineers, master biotechnologists, sought to create life and death in equal measure. In their ambition to forge a perfect weapon, they birthed something far beyond their control. Combining parasitic traits with brutal anatomical strength, the Xenomorph's earliest ancestors were simple organisms, primitive facehuggers designed to implant lethal embryos into hosts. Yet over countless experiments and unintentional releases, the creature began to refine itself. It was as if the Xenomorph DNA had an instinctual yearning for perfection, reprogramming itself at every failure, adapting at every defeat. The first true Xenomorphs were nightmarish to behold. Born from engineers, they towered at twice the height of a human, armored in black, chitinous exoskeletons, their tails barbed and prehensile, mouths dripping with acidic saliva capable of burning through steel. Yet it wasn't merely their biology that was horrifying, it was their intelligence. Instinctive problem solvers, silent hunters, and cooperative pack predators, they turned every battle into a massacre. They didn't simply kill, they eradicated. The key to their dominance lay in their unique reproductive cycle. Unlike most parasites that destroy their hosts for nourishment, the Xenomorph incorporated host DNA into its offspring, tailoring itself to the environment and its prey. Hatch a Xenomorph inside a quadruped, and you would have a four-legged nightmare faster than any predator. Hatch inside a human, and you would birth a bipedal hunter, one that could crawl through ducts, stalk in shadows, and blend into almost any metallic environment. Each Xenomorph generation improved upon the last. Traits that aided survival, whether speed, strength, camouflage, or cunning, became rapidly encoded in their biology. No laboratory was necessary, no guidance from higher beings. The universe became their forge, and each new battlefield a proving ground. Early encounters with the Xenomorphs often ended in the extinction of entire colonies. Reports, if they survived, spoke of people vanishing overnight, of acid-burned hulls, and of unkillable black shapes moving with lethal purpose. Attempts to capture them always ended in disaster. Scientists trying to study their behavior became prey themselves. Their facilities transformed into breeding grounds for new hordes. The Weyland-Yutani Corporation, ever eager to exploit biological weapons, made repeated attempts to capture live specimens. They grossly underestimated the cunning and adaptability of the creatures. Containment measures that would hold any known animal failed within hours. Walls were melted with acid. Guards were lured into traps. The Xenomorphs learned their captors' patterns, their weaknesses, and struck when the odds favored them. In one particularly infamous incident, a research ship carrying an entire nest of captured Xenomorphs lost communication with Earth. By the time a rescue team arrived, they found the ship adrift, its corridors awash with acid burns, the crew missing or mutilated beyond recognition. The ship's logs, retrieved from a half-destroyed computer, depicted a slow, methodical extermination. The Xenomorphs had not rampaged blindly. They had targeted power systems, life support, communication hubs, crippling the human's ability to fight or call for help. One chilling realization began to settle across those studying them. The The xenomorphs were evolving not only biologically but intellectually. They learned from every encounter. They remembered. In the deep catacombs beneath a derelict engineer temple on another distant moon, explorers found evidence that even the creators of the xenomorphs had tried to wipe them out. Vast murals showed epic battles where engineer warriors, clad in power armor, fought against swarms of black horrors. One chamber, sealed tightly for millennia, contained hundreds of fossilized xenomorphs frozen in mid-attack poses, their bodies pierced by energy weapons. The engineers had won that battle, but at what cost? Their civilization was now reduced to ruins, their gods dead and forgotten. The xenomorph's evolution continued without oversight. Strains emerged, each more specialized than the last. There were drones, tasked with building hives and capturing hosts, warriors heavily armored and deadly in close combat, and the terrifying Praetorians, massive, near-queen-sized protectors that could crush vehicles underfoot. The most terrifying form, however, was the Queen. Towering and intelligent, the Queen was not merely an egg-layer but the strategic mind of the hive. Under her rule, xenomorphs operated with frightening coordination. She could direct swarms, organize ambushes, and even sacrifice parts of her hive to achieve victory. Each queen carried within her the genetic memory of prior generations, a living repository of knowledge, tactics, and experiences encoded in DNA. When a new queen was born, she already knew how to establish a hive, select optimal hosts, and defend her brood. Evolution through memory, an impossibility for most lifeforms, was a reality for them. In space stations, colonial outposts, and derelict mining operations, humans continued to stumble upon these nightmares. Despite repeated warnings, greed drove them to study the creatures, to weaponize them. Soldiers fought bravely but were often outmatched. Bullets did little against their armor. Flamethrowers worked briefly until the xenomorphs adapted, retreating into vents and launching hit-and-run attacks. Even artificial intelligence struggled to comprehend the full extent of xenomorph adaptability. Synthetic soldiers sent to exterminate nests were often destroyed. Their failure was not due to lack of firepower, but because the xenomorphs quickly recognized the difference between humans and androids, altering their hunting strategies accordingly. They attacked in silence, striking where joints were weakest, where optical sensors could be blinded. The xenomorphs did not merely survive, they flourished. On abandoned worlds, they terraformed ecosystems in their image. Native species were captured, implanted, mutated. Entire biomes became hostile to non-xenomorph life. Giant hive structures, crafted from secretions and organic matter, rose like grotesque cities, pulsing with alien life. There were rare, scattered victories. Elite squads, hardened by experience and desperation, managed to destroy hives, sometimes even queens. But for every nest burned, a dozen more hid in the shadows of forgotten planets, evolving, waiting. Humanity's fascination with the xenomorph persisted, feeding their spread. Black market traders sold captured facehuggers to extremist groups. Rogue scientists attempted to hybridize human DNA with xenomorph traits, creating abominations neither fully human nor alien. Some experiments even sought to enhance xenomorphs, making them more resilient, smarter, deadlier. These experiments inevitably ended in horror, as the enhanced xenomorphs slaughtered their creators and escaped into the stars. One particularly catastrophic incident involved a research station orbiting a gas giant. Designed as a secure xenomorph containment and study facility, it boasted multiple redundant security layers. But security was never the problem. Human arrogance was. One infected researcher, desperate to smuggle valuable samples, sabotaged containment systems. Within hours, the station was overrun. The xenomorphs breached escape pods, ensuring none survived. The The station eventually fell into the gas giant's atmosphere, a fiery funeral for both captors and captives. Yet, some suspected a few xenomorphs had made it off-world. In time, new strains began to appear, each more bizarre and specialized than the last. Some xenomorphs developed chameleon-like camouflage. Others excreted pheromones that confused enemy sensors. A few rare specimens exhibited rudimentary psionic abilities, sensing life forms through walls, communicating silently across distances. Evolution had no bounds for them, only opportunities. Across human space, whispers grew louder. Rumors of black-armored, double-mouthed beasts that could rip through a battalion in minutes. Stories of ships infested in deep space, entire planetary outposts lost without a single distress signal. Fear took root. Governments banned research into the species, imposing death penalties for unauthorized experimentation. Yet outlaw operations continued, fueled by promises of ultimate power. The irony was cruel. Humanity, in its ambition, had become the unwitting accelerant of xenomorph evolution. Every new weapon deployed against them taught them new ways to resist. Every genetic experiment birthed more horrific variants. The xenomorph was not merely a predator. It was an apex evolution engine, an inevitable answer to the question, what if life existed solely to survive and dominate? Some philosophers speculated darker theories. Perhaps the xenomorph was not a biological accident, but a cosmic inevitability, a force of nature like gravity or entropy, destined to appear wherever life grew too ambitious. Perhaps in trying to create the perfect organism, the engineers had merely accelerated a process that would have occurred anyway. On Earth itself, contingency plans were drawn. Planet-wide sterilization measures, mass drivers to hurl infected colonies into their suns, global quarantines. Humanity realized, too late, that survival was no longer guaranteed. If even a single queen reached Earth, it would mean the extinction of Homo sapiens within months. The final, terrifying truth was that the xenomorph did not hate, did not rage, did not fear. It existed beyond morality, beyond pity. It lived, it killed, it multiplied. It was life's dark mirror, evolution's cruelest masterpiece. Somewhere, in the cold void between stars, a derelict ship drifted silently. Its holds were full of eggs, waiting. A queen slumbered within, dreaming not of conquest, but of survival, of new worlds to hunt, new hosts to spawn her children. The xenomorph had not merely evolved to kill. It had evolved to endure, to adapt, to inherit the universe itself. And it was patient.